Nothing we say is investment advice. Please pause on all 3 pages of this disclaimer and read it.
Greetings, Algo artisans. Today is Monday, January the 5th. Happy New Year. We're going to take a look at most of the usual suspects, but I did add silver in there. Before we get started, go ahead and take a look in the description. Get your free algo. There's a link in there. I show you how to build the algo. I show you the tools that traders use to connect it to their exchange so that they can trade while they're not even sitting at the computer. The computer trades it for them. You do have to optimize it before you trade it, but it's pretty awesome. Let's go ahead and talk about the new roundup. We've got the NASDAQ, USD, JPY, EUR, USD, Bitcoin, GBPJPY, gold, and silver. So we took out the Aussie dollar, USD, CAD, replaced it with silver. I'll keep watching these over the next week and try to chart the ones that look like they're actually going to do something. Before we get started with the charts, we're going to go ahead and take a look over at forexfactor.com to see what kind of news and economic data is coming out this week that can affect the charts. So here we are, Tuesday, January 6th. You have some data coming out for the Aussie dollar at 7:30 p.m. EST. Wednesday, we have the non-farm employment change at 8:15 a.m. EST. Then we have more data coming out at 10 a.m. around jobs openings and ISM Services Purchasing Managers Index. Thursday, 2:30 a.m. EST, we have the Swiss CPI coming out. 8:30 a.m. EST, unemployment claims for the U.S. Friday, 8:30 a.m. EST, U.S. and Canadian employment data come out. And 10 a.m. EST, we have the USD data, University of Michigan Consumer Sentiment and Inflation Expectations. So let's go ahead and jump into the charts. We'll start with the NASDAQ. Interesting open. I think it's actually going to be a quiet week unless some of the data comes out rather surprisingly. Your lower bound is going to be 25,060. We have a couple of local upper bounds to look at. We have 25,713 and 25,810. Now, unless we get some unexpected bullishness or the news causes unexpected bullishness, price may have a hard time getting up above that 25,700 mark. But if it does, it might poke up to the 25,800, 25,810 area. And it wants to go up, but it does have a lot of burn off to do of the last move up. If I zoom out, you can see pretty strong move up, nice pullback here. It may not be quite ready to pull up, but if it does, we might actually see a challenge to the top here at 25,930. Either way, I don't expect to see that this week, but remember, this is the NASDAQ. So if they're going to pump the markets, then this could go up very unexpectedly. Let's take a look at USDJPY. USDJPY, interestingly enough, but not surprisingly, looks a lot like the NASDAQ. And this is because the Japanese yen and the NASDAQ tend to move in opposite directions. USDJPY therefore would move in the same direction based on JPY being the counter currency pair. So the same kind of thing, an attempt to break above this 157.34 area. If it cannot break above, it will continue to try and probably get closer and closer as it does. Your lower bound right now is 155.53. I don't expect price to go down there outside of some kind of surprise. And if we do get a break above this 157.34, price may go to challenge the local high or even this a little bit older high of 157.91. Let's take a look at the EURUSD. The euro does want to go up, but it has been selling off a bit. It was just having a magnificent rise there towards the end of the year after having a magnificent year. And what I expect to see right now is an attempt to sell off, but the bull is coming to catch it. Your lower bound is 116.57. If price breaks below that, which I don't think it will, but if it did, you have 116.13 below. And if price finally does catch a bid, and it may for the end of the week, it would have some challenge up at 118.095. So price, I think, is just going to go sideways until it can make a decision, and that's what we can expect for now. Let's take a look at Bitcoin. Bitcoin's had a great move up. I think it may continue. It may need to burn off a little bit, but it was going sideways for so long, right? Get rid of some of this old data here. You can see that Bitcoin was going sideways all the way back to November, late November. So these breakouts after a long move sideways tend to be pretty strong. There also tend to be pullbacks. So we may actually see price pull back, but I think price will try to go up and reclaim 100,000. Whether or not it can break it is another story. And by the way, price is in a delicate spot. Even now, we could see a very strong rejection and price continues down, but this really can happen anytime, and it's not really much use to try to predict when that kind of thing would happen, right? But I do think it's going to happen at some point. It's just right now the algos say it wants to kind of inch its way up. You might even see a bit of a hard break up, but once it hits about 98,000, I'd be watching and very, very careful. For the moment though, there is enough bullishness left in the can to get price above its current price of 94,057. I'd say a decent lower bound right now is at about 90,663, which is the top of this prior consolidation right here. Price may dive down to grab that and then continue back up. That remains to be seen. Let's take a look at GBPJPY. Nice breakout here, and this one is rather bullish. So there's not a lot of older price action anywhere near topside, meaning that there's not as much of an upper bound in the near term. Now there is a good lower bound here from this consolidation, and that's back at about 210 JPY to the British pound. I do expect this to continue up. We'll probably get a challenge at this Fibonacci level at 212.77, maybe another challenge at 214.46, but really this thing's pretty darn bullish. I expect it to either shoot up or inch up, and maybe a little bit of both. Let's take a look at gold. Gold and silver, both very bullish. They had some pretty strong pullbacks here right at the end of the year, beginning of the year, you know, Christmas, whatever it might be, who knows why. There's lots of theories as to why that moved like it did, but it really doesn't matter at the moment. It appears that this pullback may be over. I expect price to go sideways with a slight bullish tilt, or maybe just up and to the right. Any of these projections is legitimate. You have a local high at 45.51. I think that might be the all-time high as well. Yeah. So we might see a challenge to the all-time high this week or not. It really depends on how much juice is in the market, what happens with some of the data, and there's a lot of things going on with metals right now. But just to look at the algos and what they're saying, this is rather bullish, and it's probably just a question of how far up it will go. I don't think we'll get past 46.50. In fact, I'm not sure we'll even surpass the all-time high this week, but a nice move sideways and slightly up is relatively predictable. Let's take a look at silver. Pretty similar. Silver does tend to be a bit bullish. I told Algo Factory yesterday that I expected price to move up from $70. This is a 386 pullback on the higher move. I don't have that fib drawn here, but that's what this is. This little pullback. If you look at this big move, silver really doing some stuff. 70 was a 386 pullback on that. Now, a strong impulse upwards with a 386 pullback and a continued move upwards is very bullish. Silver is very bullish right now. And again, there are many reasons for that we're not going to go into in this show. We do go into these things in Algo Factory, and we've been telling people at Algo Factory for literally years, and on Rogue for even more years, that we do feel that silver will really make a move, and it has done so. We have called these moves out over and over again all the last few years since Algo Factory has existed, which is now 3 years old, and even before that with Rogue, silver and gold, and pretty much everything else we have, especially on the macros, called out really well. So this is what we do over to Algo Factory. We do a couple things. We talk about the macros. We tell you what we think is going on in the market. We have excellent data, deep data from major players around the world. More importantly, what we do is we teach you how to profit from such things. We teach you how we predict where price is going to go and when it's going to go there, and we're able to extract money from these markets based on those predictions. We teach you how to do all of that, and if you want to know more about that, get your free algo. The link is in the description. It's awesome. It's free. The video shows you how to build the algo. It shows you the tools people use to connect their computer to the broker so it can trade for them while they're not even at the computer. You do have to optimize the algo before you trade it. However, it is a pretty awesome little thing, and we show you at Algo Factory how to build your own algo, which could be like way better. So come on over to algofactory.tech, learn how to trade like a hedge fund pro. We'll be back tomorrow morning, Tuesday, 8:30 a.m. EST, back on our regular schedule to reevaluate everything that we just did today and to see what the markets are going to do. We look forward to seeing you then, and thanks for watching.